This is the third in a series of recordings on this topic of my consumption of borax. There's a few other people out there who advocate doing it, and it must make everybody else wonder, boy, these people must be crazy. As one fellow pointed out, a critic, recently, borax destroys vitamins, and it took me a while. I wasn't quite clear what to make of what he was saying, and I initially investigated what he was saying and verified, the scientific literature is there. But still, there was something gnawing in the back of my head. And what I realized was how angry I was. Not at him, but at, waking up. It can be an angry experience when you're trying to exercise and practice denial as to how angry you are. I was very angry that I have to go through this process of dominating my pathological condition. I don't like to dominate anything. I'm usually the doormat that everybody else wipes their feet on. I hate that. And so it's come to the condition or development of a condition in which I hate being the doormat for other people to wipe their feet on me to such a degree that now I'm forced to do the most ugly thing of all is to dominate my immediate environment surrounding my person, because I have to dominate my person, my body, to take control of the pathological condition of degradation that is accelerated as a consequence of having been poisoned with antifreeze on several occasions. And I don't mean a dozen, but probably somewhere in the ballpark of half a dozen times over the past 21 years. The first time it happened, I didn't know what to make of it. Although I did go see a doctor, oncologist, but I waited 2 years before I saw him. So that was 2005 that I went to see him at a hospital in the San Fernando Valley. And he said, he did a blood panel, blood work panel, and he looked at my blood cells under the microscope, and he said, "You're borderline." Now, he's an oncologist, so he doesn't have to tell me what I'm borderline of, use the big C word. But that's 2 years after doing apricot pits, which worked great initially, because I was on a raw food vegan diet, and having apricot pits improved my appetite so I could go back to eating cooked food. The problem with that, though, was that eating the cooked food exacerbated my candida overgrowth problem. And if you don't know it already, and most people don't, yeast is one thing you do not want to mix with apricot pits. When you've got yeast in your small intestine, because the yeast produces an enzyme called beta, the Greek letter beta, I think it's beta glucosidase. And they put that in norimu tofu as a coagulant. But it's also in yeast. It's also in sweet almonds, the conventional almonds that you can purchase, because almonds are not normally sweet. They're normally bitter, like apricot pits, to an even greater degree, because it has even more lyoctyl, or amygdalin if you prefer, than do apricot pits. And you can only get bitter almonds in like 4 countries on the planet: Iran, Turkey, I think it's China maybe, and there's a 4th one, I forget which one that is. All the other countries do what the ancient Romans did. They went through their orchard, and every time Mother Nature gave them a bitter apricot tree when they planted their seeds, their almond seeds, to grow an orchard of almonds, every time it gave them they burned the tree to the ground. and destroyed the whole. They're very good at they're very destructive oriented, because if you mix if you mix bitter almonds with your sweet almond crop and you eat them together, boy, you'll poison yourself like crazy, because the beta-glucosidase of the sweet almond will release the toxic benzaldehyde and cyanide from the bitter almonds in your small intestine, and you'll absorb it there and poison your whole body instead of what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to eat only the bitter almond or the bitter apricot, or both, or the apple seed, or all of the above, or the cherry pit, the pit of prunes or peaches. You're only supposed to eat that and nothing else from that group of plants, and anything else that might conflict, such as sweet almonds. Olives is another one you don't want to have. Onions. What's another one? Honey. And leavened bread, leavened with Saccharomyces. I forget how to pronounce it properly. Yeast culture. So you don't want to eat leavened bread, basically, with leavening, because all of them will contain beta-glucosidase, and you'll release the poison in your gut instead of it being released in the cancer cell where it's supposed to be released. Now, if you eat just bitter almonds all by itself, let's say, then what happens is the amygdalin molecule, Lyotril is is the word used when it's extracted as an extract. But when you have it in its natural form, it's called amygdalin, and it goes into the healthy cells, and the healthy cells know how to deal with it. They break it down. No problem. Once it gets inside of them, they safely break it down. But when the yeast breaks it down in the gut, now you've got the poisons raw in the face of the healthy cells of the body, poisoning those healthy cells of the body. You're poisoning the body at that point. When it gets to the cancer cell doesn't know what to do with it. Well, actually, it does know what to do with it, but it does the wrong thing. And that's the whole point of this, how Mother Nature engineered it. Cancer cells can only do one thing, and that's ferment sugar, glucose. They can't process any other nutrient other than glucose, and only by way of fermentation. So they absorb the amygdalin molecules, saying, hey, there's glucose inside of here, let's break it down. They break it down, release the cyanide and benzaldehyde, and if anything kills them, it's the benzaldehyde more so than the cyanide. But still, the cyanide's there to help things along. And the poor little cancer cell dies. So after 2 years of doing that, I was in much better shape. And that's when he said I was borderline. I was not borderline initially. I was dying, and I knew it. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. I'd never gone through this process before, never had the experience. Now, I've got what's called inner vision, psychic vision, whatever you want to call it, in which I can see the energy flowing inside of my body when I look at it. When I go get an acupuncture treatment and they're manipulating the flows of energy, I say, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, or what I'm doing, because I can see it. I can verify to my own satisfaction what they're saying. And without them telling me what they're doing, I can tell them what they're doing, and they can verify to me that, oh, okay. You know, so I like to be involved. It's not the only reason why. It's because I've been a physician in past lives. But so I'm not a lazy or a dumbass consumer. I like to be involved and participate. And like, okay, doc, tell me what you're doing, or else don't do it. I'm not going to see you. I want to verify and okay it first, approve of it. So I have a very extreme pathological condition in which basically my whole system is breaking down and dying at an accelerated pace. And I had to look for ways to slow that down, to stay alive instead of die like my cats did. We all got the antifreeze poisoning the first time 21 years ago, and they all died. And they have a higher metabolic rate than I do, and they have smaller body mass. So I guess that's why they died before I did. But it took a little longer for me, and that's when I decided during meditation, when I was having all these blissful meditations, that I got to take charge. Well, how do you do that? Well, borax is one way to do that. At the cost of it destroying vitamins in the food you eat, which are going to be destroyed anyway if you're in the same kind of boat that I'm in. So it's not a problem. It's going to happen anyway. The benefit to borax, though, is to gain control of this situation and dominate it, because that's how you gain control, by domination. I hate it. I hate it when people want to dominate me, people in my own family, because they've learned to do that anyway as a survival mechanism. They fight back, I think, is the idiomatic expression that we usually use, but it's basically to dominate, is to more accurate, to dominate the situation. It's called survival, for the purposes of survival. And that's really the sole purpose of the borax. Now, I say, well, it's put me back on the path of Dharma. Well, yeah, because if you fall off the path of Dharma, what that means in English instead of Sanskrit, it means you fall off the path of evolutionary development. Because when you're degrading and into a putrefied state, I wouldn't call that evolutionary. I'd call that death. Evolution only happens when you're alive, not when you're dead or dying. Dying means you're going to be replaced by something else who can pick up where you leave off. It doesn't mean you're doing any progress. So I want to make some progress. I want to contribute, at least to my own development, if nothing else, if no one else. And so borax is a bid to survive, to stay alive, to evolve, because you can't separate evolution from life or life from evolution. They're one and the same thing. If you fall out of the favor of staying alive, you're falling out of the favor of evolving. You're no longer evolving. And Charlie Lutz would have something to say about this. Move or be removed. You've probably heard that expression. He probably didn't make it up. Move, namely change, grow, develop, or die. I mean, that's literally what he was saying. And in no uncertain terms, that's what it means to evolve and remain on the path of Dharma and evolve versus death and don't evolve. Well, isn't drinking alcohol a slow method of suicide in which you're destroying your body voluntarily? Even though you say, oh, I can't help myself. Well, you must want death pretty badly. But I don't. And so this is my bid to fight back. And yeah, the guy complaining to me, I got all upset, but not at him, but because of him waking me up to what I was mentally trying to avoid admitting, that I'm still going through this. I'm 67 with a body of a 77-year-old. And it's all because of this accelerated process of death. Now, it may not be so bad anymore. I may be 76 or 75, I mean to say. But, or 72, I hope. Good luck. But be that as it may, I struggle with it on a daily, nightly, 24/7 basis. Because you can't let up your grip. You can't, for one iota. I have all kinds of protocols to take at different times of the day. I got ginger to take mostly at nighttime. Daytime too is nice, but mostly at nighttime, so I can get through the night and not suffer a closed nostril, nasal passageways. I can't breathe through my nose. God damn, that's disgusting. But as a side effect, I never get a head cold. So, that's not bad. Ginger, pretty good stuff. So I have all these protocols to follow, and if I feel really run down, like I'm feeling my age, oops, time to take that potassium iodide again. quicken the metabolic rate. So I don't take it every day, but once in a while I have to take it. And it works. It's good. Silver I take all the time in extremely low atomic measured dosages because my immune system needs assistance. It needs help. By putting silver wire, very pure 4/9 fine silver wire, in my water bottle, in which I make my electrolyte mixture. Now I've changed the sugar because when I was drinking my pee, I noticed the only thing problematic for the most part is if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. You got to make lemonade out of your pea to be able to get it down. But in order to do it right, you got to have the best quality of sugar available. And that's organic turbinado raw sugar from the health food store. That's the only way to do it. So I thought, well, maybe I should do that again with this electrolyte mixture because it's kind of tasting weird. And yeah, because the sugar is, most of the time we probably don't notice it. But unless it's raw turbinado organic sugar from the health food store, sugar is crap. It tastes like syrup and it's crap. And it makes me feel miserable. I don't know if it's bad for me or not. It just feels miserable. I feel miserable having consumed this stuff if I wake up, if I'm not in denial. So that's the one ingredient I changed in my electrolyte mixture recently. I went to the trouble of buying the stuff, and it really makes a difference. Because borax tastes like crap. There's no way around it. But it helps the body purge itself of toxins resulting from a pathological condition of accelerated degradation of the whole physiology, not just the whole physiology, but mostly of the food inside the gut that's not being digested. So it ferments and creates toxins. And you know what? Vitamins, as good as they are, they're the first things to break down and turn into toxic substances. That's what this guy highlighted to me, something I had been feeling and sensing, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Why the food in my gut is crap. Once I've eaten it, and after a few minutes has passed, I don't know what the glory, the honeymoon period is. It might be half an hour or something. And then when it's over, it's over. And then you've got crap in your face. And I couldn't put my finger what it was. And now he's pointed it out. It's the vitamins. They turn into toxic substances. They're the worst part of the food once they break down. Oh, when they're fresh and you absorb it right away, great, but you got to absorb it right away. You got to have a physiology that can absorb it right away. So now these vitamin gummies that I bought the other day, I'm considering getting rid of them because they actually create a condition of turning my poop into toxic poop. And then when it comes time to poop, I have a hard time not fainting on the toilet because of the toxin, because first of all, straining, and then second of all, exacerbated by the straining, the toxins in my bloodstream. My body wants to faint, my brain. I mean, it's so bad. So taking extra vitamins may be a mistake. And I'm firmly considering sharing it with some homeless person as a source of free sugar. Here, have some sugary gummies, because I don't want to do it. I don't want that problem anymore. So this guy taught me a few things that I probably did not want to know. I'm not a hypochondriac. I'm the opposite. In order to fight hypochondria, I'm Mr. Denial. But as heaven is a blessing, Mother God wants to bless me with knowledge once in a while because she feels I deserve it. Sometimes she has to shove it in my face in the most ugliest way possible, and in the form of a critic telling me that borax is going to destroy the vitamin content of my diet, and why on earth would I want to do that? Yeah, you're right, but I have no choice. It's either that or die. Voluntarily, willfully do it instead of letting it happen on its own. Because it's going to happen regardless, and there's no way to avoid that. But I do want to get rid of it quickly as possible, and borax helps the body do that. So it's necessary for me to say this because it's very upsetting for me, to have to wake up to this. He really helped me learn something, to see, to cognize the consequences of the truths that he was stating. And it's, from my point of view, not his, because he doesn't know what it's like to be in my shoes. And that's what makes me so angry, because I'm jealous of his robust health. Although I'm grateful for his knowledge, I'm also jealous that he doesn't have to go through the shit I go through. So there you go. So I'm angry at myself or the world or whatever you want to call it because I'm jealous. That's what it comes down to. Oh well, get that, clear the air on that one. Oh boy. So hopefully this is the last in the series on borax, because it's very upsetting to talk about. It's bad enough I got to go through the process, but I make the electrolyte taste pretty good with this raw turbinado organic sugar. If you get the non-organic raw turbinado sugar from like Walmart, it's still pretty good. In fact, it's still very good. It's just the organic is that much better. But still, raw turbinado is the base minimum of what quality of sugar you have to use to make it worth your while. Because borax is disgusting. Now, I don't put much in. I put 1 pinch of several crumbs in between 2 fingers. Dipotassium phosphate, I've increased it to 3 pinches, liberal pinches. Sugar, 1 heaping teaspoon and a half. Calcium citrate, once in a while, I alternate it, like every other bottle or every third bottle when I refill my water bottle, my liter water bottle. Then I'll put in calcium citrate and half a scoop. A scoop is a 1/4 teaspoon, so half of that, 1/8 of a teaspoon. I think a 1/4 teaspoon is how does it go? 1 1/4 grams, maybe? I can't remember the exact translation into metric measurement from the English, but whatever. What else do I put in? Oh, salt. Very important to put in salt. So I put in raw, sun-dried sea salt. Very good stuff. The best salt on the planet is non-kiln dried, solar dried sea salt. I think that's it. And then the silver wire and distilled water. Shake it up, shake, and it's very good. I don't drink it exclusive as my only beverage, though, because I don't need to. It's kind of rich. Most of the time, I drink Nut Pod's coconut almond creamer, which has dipotassium phosphate in it, but nothing else that's man-made, bizarre, because it's a bizarre thing I need. But be that as it may, I won't repeat myself. You can listen to the other recordings why I take phosphates into my body when we don't put it into our laundry detergent. Well, to save you the trouble of looking, it's to desire to drink, to desire to eat. Now, I'm noticing I'm eating differently now. Since he woke me up, see, this was very important that he wake me up. Since he woke me up into no longer trying to exercise a state of denial, I know I'm noticing that I'm supposed to eat differently too, not just drink this weird electrolyte mixture. I have to avoid certain things. I have to avoid grain, apparently. My salty corn chips and oat, Bobo's confectionery little sweet treats from the health food store. Beans seems to be the only complex carbohydrate I can tolerate. And because it's the only source of carbohydrates, I have to eat 2 portions. It's not enough to just eat 1 can of lentil soup. I got to have a pouch of garbanzo beans as well. Spicy. Ooh, boy, did I have spicy. I opened up. I was experimenting with this new line of product from the health food store. It's they come in pouches, bean with, pre-cooked, all you have to do is heat it up. Good. That's the way I got to have it. Straight out of the pouch. Spicy tomato sauce and garbanzo beans. And it's like, wow. Then I was satisfied on two of those things, but one just didn't cut it, because I knew in my heart at that point, because I was so awake by how this fellow woke me up to the status that my body is in. I realized by focusing on the Dharma that I now was admitting to, I have to take this borax. I don't have any choice. Regardless of how bad it may be in some ways, it's better than not doing it. That's when I realized I have to stay away from grain. The monocot grain of corn and oats, it's not enough just to, not be interested in wheat anymore, because I'm not addicted to the alcohol, because I'm not having bread anymore. I'm just have crackers in the car, but I shouldn't eat any grain, just beans for my carbohydrates. And of course, vegetables like yams and squashes for a minor source of carbohydrates, and the sugar in my electrolyte, another source of carbohydrates. So that was a very interesting wake up last night when it came time to have dinner. I put it off, I waited. Got to have an appetite. So I better have improved digestion. Wait till I have an appetite. So I went to bed early and then woke up and had dinner. But I had only beans for dinner. And that really agrees with me. It's the grains that's giving me gas and flatulence because I'm not digesting it. Making me miserable. There's nothing wrong with waking up. It's just the process of waking up, though, is realizing what you're doing that's wrong that has to be fixed, or realizing there is something wrong, but not noticing that it can be fixed. And that's what it took, dropping grain from the diet. So there you go. The guy helped me wake up. And at first I was angry because I didn't want to wake up, but the truth that he put in front of my face forced me to wake up, to admit that I have to do what he says I should not be doing, because it's better than if I don't do it. But then in the process of waking up, it wasn't just good enough to take the borax. I've been taking it for now like a week or two. It was realizing that it's okay and I must do it. That's when I woke up to the fact that it was something else I had to change. And that was dropping the grain from my diet. So, mazel tov, dude. All thanks and credit go to you. Mother Nature smiled through you to reach me and help me grow and learn something more than just one awakening, but a double whammy, a double awakening. I gotta thank you. I don't know how to thank you enough. If you were available, I'd kiss you and hug you, if we were French, but neither is the case. So all I can do is thank you verbally like this. It's really cool what you did for me. And now I don't have to be jealous, because I'm doing the best that I can do to fix the situation. With your help, pushing me further, because it really is a push, a shove. It's not come here, a tease. It's more like a shove, but it worked. It's what I needed. I definitely needed to be shoved into a better state of awareness of the particulars of what I need to change to make my life more enjoyable. Isn't that what we want, right? We want to enjoy life. Sure, if we have the freedom to do as we please, we do it. But if we don't have the freedom to do as we please, then we either suffer or we fix it. We take charge. And that's what I've had to do. Whatever. So I'm getting all these ideas now as a consequence to not give up on life and enjoy life. You know, I keep thinking, oh, I have nothing more to say about free energy, blah, blah, blah. I've already said it and hardly anybody's listening, blah, blah, blah. And it's like I'm a drop of water in the Sahara when it comes to talking about free energy. I'm getting nowhere. Everybody's so brainwashed in the West to comply with the brainwashing, which is half of the reality of the truth of the matter. Yeah, conservation of energy is true, but it's only half the story. So who gives a fuck when it's the least important part of the equation of life? It doesn't matter. I mean, but that thought is forced down our throats so that we take charge of it when we don't have to. Mother Nature takes care of it. It's called karma. Mother Nature takes care of justice and balancing the books and accountability. And that's what physics forces electrical engineers and mechanical engineers to take responsibility for when they don't need to. It's done automatically. It's there intrinsic, so how can you violate it? It's impossible. So why bother worrying about it? Okay? We should be worrying about the efficiency of the outcome. Namely, we did not overrule this so-called limitation of 100% efficiency by improving the coefficient of performance to override the limitation of efficiency that cannot exceed 100%. There's still coefficient of performance can override 100%, and we want it to, and that's when we get over unity. So you see this emphasis on efficiency, emphasis on conservation of energy, it's all the wrong emphasis, even though it's true. It's the wrong emphasis. The emphasis should be on coefficient of performance in order to also focus on nonlinear dynamics instead of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is where conservation of energy is located. It's true. Everything about thermodynamics is true. It's just the wrong emphasis because it's automatic. It's intrinsic in the system. It will happen whether you want it or not. But nonlinear dynamics, you have to choose to make it happen. And if you don't choose to make it happen because you didn't even know it exists, let alone what it's about, then it's your loss and you pay the piper, so to speak. You pay the energy bill when you don't have to. And the people at the other end feeding you the energy are laughing up a storm. Look all the money we're raking in when we don't have to, except to prevent hyperinflation. That's the only reason why they have to do it. But as a consumer, we don't have to pay them. Let them find some other way to vacuum money out of circulation to prevent hyperinflation. Let it not be with energy costs, because energy is pretty important. Keeps us alive, keeps us warm, keeps us from freezing to death, keeps us from going hungry. You know, it helps do a lot of things. You don't see horse and buggies around unless you live in Amish country. Everything is locomotive, so to speak. So it's really a fallacy to think that anybody can stay alive. I mean, you see the homeless, they look destitute and depressed. Why? Because they have to rely on their own energy to get everything done. Like I should know a little bit about that. Yeah, I do. It takes more energy to survive when you're homeless. Even if you have a car to drive around and a barely surviving income to pay for the expenses of maintaining that car. When you louse it up a few times because you mismanage this or just accidents happen, you know, because you're a fool for increasing your risks. So you pay through the noodle for fixing the car. How do you do that? Well, you got to have a job, blah, blah, blah. It takes energy. You got to work, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, anywho. So there's nothing wrong with what that guy told me, and there's nothing wrong with the way what physics, except it's the wrong emphasis. It's the wrong emphasis in each case, but for different reasons, because they're two different things, but they're kind of similar. So I don't need to focus on the destruction of vitamins with the consumption of borax because they're going to be destroyed anyway, and I don't have to worry about the karmic retribution of conservation of energy and the laws of thermodynamics because it's going to happen anyway. Does not need me to help it. How can I? I don't have control over it. I can't help it. But we can fake it. But, oh, well, I have to go recharge the battery by plugging it into the wall socket. Oh, I got to go buy new non-rechargeable batteries. Oh, I got to, do things I don't have to do with regard to electrical energy. So I got all these ideas to make a third posting on Substack because I'm learning more now how to use the Substack available features on the desktop. People complain about Substack, and it's true. I have to agree that the people who write up the software for the what do you call it? The app, the cell phone app, at least for the Android version. I can't speak for the iPhone. It's crap. I mean, you can barely use the thing. And boy, was it frustrating initially. I just wanted to give up and I was so angry. But I got over my anger and I read the reviews, something I normally don't do when I purchase something, especially from Google Play Store or whatever it's called for the iPhone downloads. But then I went back and hey, this is exactly what I'm experiencing. No wonder it's crap. Everybody else says the same thing. But when you go to the desktop version of, signing into the Substack account, it's not bad. In fact, it's pretty good. In fact, it's very good. It works. So the software designers did everything they need to do for the desktop version, but the cell phone version, it's like they played hooky and smoked some weed and got drunk and didn't care. As if on purpose. Voluntarily, willfully made it so that it doesn't work. I mean, it's how anybody can create software code and not be cognizant of what they're doing is beyond me. You have to know what you're doing. And if it doesn't work, it must have been done on purpose. So whatever. But the desktop version does work, and it works very good. So I'm learning how to use it to go in and re-edit prior posts. Maybe I want to add more material, so I did. I don't have anything to change with the second posting that I put behind a paywall because that one's short and sweet and to the point, and it's my second draft anyway. You didn't see my first draft. That one I'm rambling all over the place because I wasn't quite sure what I was trying to say. And when I finally didn't say it, then I just focused on that. I cut and pasted that whole tiny little snippet, and it became a very short posting. But it's very quick and to the point. And it's mostly math. And then I do a little English, expository explanation after the mathematical style of statements, because the math really says it good and it says it very well. Where does free energy come from? What's the process of the formation of free energy under the auspices of nonlinear dynamics with regard to electrical engineering? What is that process? I've been wanting that for years now, for at least 8 years in terms of dedication, but longer than that, actually. When I first started studying the matter back in 2013, so what's that, 11 years. So an additional 3 years, I kind of wondered about it, but I didn't really put myself to focus on the task of resolving the various questions surrounding free energy, such as, where does it come from? But now I know. It's so simple and it's so elegant. Yeah, I mean, it's the type of math that a school child could understand. In junior high school, in middle school, now they call it middle school. Maybe not elementary school, unless you're a really math geek like Michael Frisch from England in the 5th grade. Polka-dotted face of freckles and a red head top of hair and short little guy, but boy, was his IQ must have been out in the galaxy. It was, and I was the only person who put up with him, who made friends with him. We'd play chess every day. Why are you so slow? Because I'm afraid of losing. You're going to lose anyway. I know, that's why I'm trying to prolong the agony, because I don't want to lose right away. So I take my sweet time making my move. He had this little magnetic chessboard he'd bring out all the time during breaks. Come on, let's play. He shoved it in my face. Come on, let's play. I don't want to play. You keep winning. Oh, he made me suffer so much. He was ruthless. And this is in the 5th grade, right? I'm 11 years old, and this guy wants to torture me with chess. I mean, there are kids that age playing chess in chess clubs, but, they like it because they're good at it, right? Why would you want to do it if you're not good at it? This guy was reading calculus books in the 5th grade for his extracurricular activities, for enjoyment, for his recreation. I mean, that's how smart this guy was. And he didn't, want to take credit. So he'd say, well, it's the English education system. We're a year ahead of you guys. Well, I think you're a little bit more than 1 year ahead of us. Oh, boy. Anyway, why did I go off on that? Oh, well, probably just because I needed a good laugh. Nothing like having a good laugh. Well, so I'm going to when I get the free chance, I'm going to post a third posting behind a paywall, because I'm only giving away one freebie on Substack. This next one is not going to be theory. It's going to be an actual circuit simulation that I marvel at. And I marvel that, in the 8 years that I've been doing simulations, I marvel that any of them are actually good. And it's more than one. Most of them, there's always something wrong with it, that you could find fault, because I can find fault. But once in a while, a pretty good one happened, and so far I haven't found any fault with it. I'm not sure. I have to look at it some more with more discretion, but it looks pretty good. So I'm going to do a whole posting on that. Anyway, so I'm enjoying it. Substack is starting to be fun. And I haven't made any money. I got a few subscribers. They're all my friends or family that I invited, so I'm not surprised. I invited them. But I am getting reads. People are coming in and reading it, strangers. Because I sent out a lot of emails. I got one person, and text messages, and I did get one person complain to me. He didn't like what I did, so I erased him from my contact list. I think it twice. 2 people complained. But other than that, I didn't get any complaints. And I didn't even send out to my whole contact list. I think I stopped at ABC. What letter did I stop at? C? So I didn't even get that far down the list. But until I lost interest. But they're coming in anyway. So I posted a few other places. Discord website, I put a link. Quora, I put a link. Facebook, I put a posting. Instagram, I put a posting. Those were the only places I put it up. I didn't put it anywhere else. Anyway, but I'm getting a few reads every day, so that's good. That's not bad, Even though it's free reads, so what, Somebody wrote a little piece on that. He put it on Substack, and he said it took 8 years to begin to see any money come in of any amount above zero. And it was only 1 to 1.5% of his readership that actually paid money as a paid subscription service. The rest, either free subscription or whatever, If it's not behind a paywall, they just read it. So it's, I got a long ways to wait, unless something should happen to accelerate things. But at least I'm starting. It's a start. I tried doing it on Quora and I tried doing it on YouTube, and it just doesn't pay. The pay just isn't there. It's like pennies, or it's a fraction of a penny. It's not worth it. But here, Substack, it's if it pays at all, it pays pretty good. So, okay, I'm willing to give it a try. And you get to put this boundary. That's the other interesting thing, learning about the software. When you make a posting that's behind a paywall, you're supposed to put in a bar. It's like a horizontal bar, and you place it in your text where you want people to stop reading. So you get to decide where up front in the beginning of your post you want people to read, and then after that, you don't get to see it. Now, Amazon, if you post a book and they allow people, so then they go and they make a little snippet, they decide how much of your text the public gets to see up front at the top of your text for free, before, as a preview, before paying for it, or clicking on getting it digital or whatever. But here you get to choose on Substack, and that's pretty good. So I'm learning, how to use the software, and I'm finding, I like this. This is good. They actually were intelligent in how they went about constructing, because they used statistics. If 15% more people, blah, 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 if you allow them to see a little bit of your work, they'll have more likely to pay for a subscription. Oh, okay. Because they give me the choice to obliterate it and say, no, you don't get to see anything. You want to see anything in the first word, anything, whatever, other than the title. No, you got to pay for it. No. Or you can opt to let somebody see a little bit more than just the title, and you get to place the darn thing where you place it and determine how much they get to see. So it's really nice. It's a nice desktop version of their software for interfacing with their system and making it happen, making a post happen. And then you get to post all kinds of things besides text. I can do podcasts there, and a few video, blogging, all kinds of stuff. So I don't know. Right now, writing is better for me, because then I can be careful about what I say and how I say it by going over it again and again and polishing the polish. Anyway, that's my latest updates, and I've been blabbling now for how long? Where's the minutes on this thing? Oh, the usual. Almost an hour. In the middle of the more early morning hours before going to work, waiting for the dawn. So I guess, yeah. So happy New Year. As the music goes, let's hope this year is better than the last one. Of course it will be, but it's good to hope. Give it a little extra push by hoping. And Happy New Year, and God bless all of us for being alive.